So we'll start adoption of the agenda. If you could bring up the agenda, Andrew. All right. Whereas an agenda was made and whereas we need to approve it, be it resolved that council approve the agenda of the council meeting of Thursday, March 3rd, 2022, as seen on the Engineering Society website, moved by Andrew Wheelove de Silva, seconded by Ben Lowers Higgs. Any opening?
Andrew Silva, Director of Governance. Yeah, Ben is my lower, so you'll see a lot more of him in the upcoming councils. And yeah, he'll be taking over the position next year, which will be really awesome. I'm really excited for it. And yeah, that's it for me.
Great, thank you. Any debate? Seeing none. Be resolved that council approve the agenda of council meeting of Thursday, March 3rd, 2022, as seen on the Engineering Society website. We'll put the question.
Point of information, Andrew Silva, Director of Governance. Just got to say that after the beat resolved and then the names, and then I can.
Oh, my bad. Moved by Andrew Wheelove de Silva, seconded by Ben Lowers Higgs. Great. That. Okay, and then whereas it's been some amount of time since the last council, and whereas Matthew wrote the minutes and they need to be approved, be it resolved that council approve the minutes of the council meeting of February 8th, 2022, as seen on the Engineering Society website, moved by Andrew Wash de Silva, seconded by Ben Fresh Higgs. Any opening? Okay, any debate on that? Seeing none, be resolved that council approve the minutes of the council meeting of February 8th, 2022, as seen on the Engineering Society website, moved by Andrew Wash de Silva, seconded by Ben Fresh Higgs.
Point of personal privilege. Can we zoom in? I can't see it very well. If possible, that would be great.
Great. So with that, we'll move on to the speaker's business. So welcome everyone. As I mentioned, in case you just showed up, actual speaker Nick is not available, so Deputy Speaker Nick is running the meeting today. Bear with me because it's my first time, but hopefully it should all go smoothly. As always, we'd like to acknowledge that Queens is situated on the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe and Haudenosaunee, and we are very fortunate to be learning here and working here and carrying out council here. And we'd like to encourage everyone to familiarize themselves with that history. And other than that, quick shout out that the various discipline club and your executive election should be happening soon. So if that interests you, or if you know people who might be interested, tell them to get involved and look out for announcements. Otherwise, we'll proceed with the agenda. So first we have a couple presentations. So I'd like to give the floor for the proposed purchases bed fund presentation.
Awesome, thanks Nick. I'm just gonna share my screen and let me know if you guys can see this.
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay, perfect. Okay, awesome. So hi everyone, my name is Grace, and every year Bed Fund proposes new purchases for the fund. So these are the proposed purchases for this year from each discipline that I'll be presenting today. So just to start off, all 9 disciplines and general submitted a proposal this year. Each club is suggesting purchases over 80% or more of their total budget, which is awesome. We love to see new purchases, and also rollovers being used by 4 disciplines. How I've structured this presentation is I've put in the budget as well of each discipline, and if they are using rollover, I have just listed how much rollover they have. Okay, so first discipline, ECE, their total purchase request is $10,209.56, and their incoming budget is $12,805.32. So moving on to their proposed purchases, first is a server upgrade for courses like Elect 377, as well as a KVM switch to allow for more connectivity and a more attractive workspace in the Bain lab. ECE has also decided to purchase some equipment for Space School used by the design team QSET, which will benefit both first years and a majority of students in ECE. So the weather balloon, the space parachute, camera, and as well as a weather balloon inflator. And finally, the benchtop power supply and the digital oscilloscope will be used for the class of 6-5 design space upgrade. And also shout out to Nick for being the ECE rep. Okay, so next is chemical engineering. Their total purchase request is $12,196. Their incoming budget fell a little short this year at $9,180. However, they have sufficient rollover to cover the balance. And their proposed purchases focus a lot on improving and upgrading lab equipment for use in various CHI courses and experiments. So one balance for the B22 lab, a portable computer for air quality experiment, pressure transmitters, and an overhead stirrer. Okay, next is general engineering. So general engineering is not specific to one discipline, but just covers engineering in general. And the main scope of this year for general engineering was to upgrade and add on to past general purchases for use mainly in the ILC and ILC labs. So whiteboards for student use in the ILC, VR headsets and probes VR headsets are a new purchase for use in the ILC, and probes are to just upgrade last year's purchase, which went pretty well. And as well as the adapters adding on to the Arduinos that were purchased last year as well. First year engineering. So the proposed purchases for first year focused a lot on APS-C 100 and as well as Space School in collaboration with the ECE department. So hand draws, hand saws, wire cutters, Arduinos, and Arduino sensors are all used for the APS-C 100 course. And then the flight computer, transmitter, beacon, camera mount, and train kit are for QSET Space School. Mechanical engineering, so their total purchase request was $2,300,893, and their incoming budget was $26,700. Their proposed purchases consist of a light board to upgrade the quality of virtual classes, as well as 2 different 3D printers. So the Ender printer is for simple and quick prototyping, while the BCN is for more complex parts, which allows for a more streamlined prototyping process in Mech courses. Next is mining engineering. So their total purchase request was $3,637, and their incoming budget was $3,750. And their proposed purchases are 4 Oculus Quests, So something that mining has been doing is to develop a virtual reality mineral processing plant incorporated into core mining courses. So these VR headsets will allow for that to happen, as well as 9 Arduino starter packs for students to borrow instead of purchasing new starter packs and equipment. Next is Apple Math. So Apple Math is also using rollover this year. Their total purchase budget was $11,670, and their incoming budget was $11,460. So using a bit of their rollover to cover the remainder. A lot of Apple's purchases was based on upgrading the Apple Orchard, as well as just helping students with extra funds such as textbooks. So the HP LaserJet printer will be used in the Apple Lounge. The 10 lab kits will be used for students to borrow instead of purchasing it for class. The whiteboard markers and Apple iPad Pros will also be used for the Apple Orchard Lounge. Next is Civil, and they are also using a bit of rollover to cover the difference from the purchase request and the incoming budget. So Civil's purchases this year focus on lab improvements. So the pie gauges, mortar and pestle, soil pestle, number 40 sieve, evaporating dishes, and the limit apparatus, as well as they are repurchasing the cabinets to extend lifetime of a previous bed fund purchase that was pretty successful, as well as new lab equipment and equipment for design teams. So the ground water flow model, the analytical balance, concrete scale, and yeah. EngViz, they are also using some rollover in their budget to cover just some extra expenses between their purchase request and their actual incoming budget. So like other disciplines, purchasing some new lab kits for students to borrow so they don't have to purchase it. Upgrading and repurchasing a past purchase to this, the 5 Tektronix scopes, as well as purchasing some whiteboards and whiteboard markers for use in the EngViz lounge, and then just some extra equipment for lab. So there is the infrared camera and electromagnet for research courses, extra hand tools for courses like APS-C 200, and as well as an application-specific integrated circuit and the coolers for various lab courses as well. Geoengineering. So Geo decided to purchase some stuff to upgrade their lounge, so the monitors, mounts, and extension cords, as well as a few textbooks for student use, and finally some meteorites for Geo labs. And I believe that covers all the disciplines. Before ending this presentation, I just wanted to update council on a quick accountability statement. So this summer, the ECE department manager requested an emergency purchase of 50 Dell computers to compensate for the outdated proposals that were unpurchased due to the COVID-19 pandemic. And at the time, extra funding was thought to have existed to support this purchase, leaving ECE with sufficient rollover funds consistent with the rest of the disciplines, which was a major goal of the fund at the time. So as the head manager, I accepted this emergency purchase. This was a one-off instance with unclear and inconsistent information and communication on both sides that unfortunately led ECE to a smaller budget than anticipated this year. As the head manager, I attempted to solve this issue multiple times through meeting with the exec team and finance staff. And in addition, the team is currently working on clarifications to policy, as well as making some adjustments to bed fund procedures to make sure that this situation does not happen again. And I'm also open to any recommendations for the bed fund team, and we'll be presenting some policy recommendations soon. And I believe that's the end of the proposal presentation, and onto the question period.
Thank you, Bed Fund Head Manager Ma, for that presentation. If anyone has any questions, please use the appropriate part of the speakers queue.
Can we drop the speakers queue in the chat? I can't find it. Thank y'all.
Send the link, so I'll give it another few seconds now that that's in there. Vice President Edwards. Vice President Edwards, you're muted.
Thank you, Speaker Merton. Kaya Edwards, Vice President, Student Affairs. I have a few concerns. Namely, I see a lot of purchases for lab equipment, specifically for APS-C 100 and 200. I see stuff like hand saws. The original intent of the bed fund is to be spent on things that are novel or that are going to enrich kind of the engineering experience that are not out of the faculty's operational budget. I am concerned some of that stuff is the APS-C 100 staff requesting things that they really ought to be buying out of their own budget, not things that are going in there to actually innovate their program or have some special offering for their students.
Direct response, Grace Ma, Bed Fund Head Manager. Thank you for your concern, Kaya. I definitely agree. I see your point with that statement. I think that the point of purchasing those hand tools is to enrich the course itself, because students wouldn't have access to those tools. I know that also was approved in the past, so I think that's like a driving force in putting that proposal again this year. Unfortunately, I didn't work with the department heads myself in this process, so I think
when that was approved last time, if it was approved before.
It was approved in the 2019 to 2020 year.
Okay, so what happened to those hand saws? If we already bought them.
Yeah, that's also a good point. I know that the discipline reps worked with the department managers directly. I wasn't involved in those meetings, so I can't say for sure like what they discussed. Kalina, if you're able, are you able to provide more insight in that communication?
Representative McCloskey, are you able to provide a direct response there? Maybe we'll come back to that later. There is also, for reference, there will be an opportunity for a debate when the actual motion to approve, and as well as for any potential amendments or other procedural matters when we get to the motion to approve. I'm going to go to President Bissell and Vice President Edwards. If you have another question, feel free to add your name back in. President Bissell.
Christina Pepto Yodelehihu Bissell. The one you're talking about labs for, I believe it was like chemical mining and the oscilloscope for ECE, are these pertaining to their study labs, or are they like for specific courses and thus lab equipment that the faculty should be purchasing?
Direct response, Grace Ma. They're not specified in the reports, but I assume that they're not used for just one course, but just for like experiments in general. And Nick, if you were able to provide a bit more clarification on that, I know that you worked with the proposal.
Nick Merton, ECE Club President, to a direct response. Yeah, with regards to, I can only speak obviously to the ECE proposal, but the oscilloscope and benchtop power supplies that are being purchased there, those are to augment a new lab that is being constructed right now for students. It's a physical lab, not like course lab, like curricular labs. Not it's not used for courses at all. It's just largely funded by a combination of the department, faculty, and fundraising from alumni. And it's just a place for students to work on their projects. Obviously, students will be working on some course projects there, but it's that's equipment that students requested to have in that lab for just all undergrads to have access to. It's not a departmental request for a course.
Can I follow up? Sorry.
Yeah, President Bissell.
President Christina Pepto Yorlehihu Bissell. If it is a new study space that is being constructed by the faculty and they're like providing the space and resources in these spaces for students to learn and study, then I don't believe that we should necessarily be using the bed fund, which is used to improve and enrich the situation, when those are things that should be there and provided if that is necessary of those study spaces. So for instance, in the ILC, the second floor plaza, we have those big boxes or whatever, and the oscilloscopes and all those things that are there that I believe were provided when we got those study spaces, and thus this purchase is not in nature of the, or the spirit of necessarily of the bed fund.
Nick Renisi, President, direct response. I will leave it to debate and council to decide exactly what the like whether this counts, but just to provide a bit more context, the department has committed a total budget to the project, and they've informed me that they estimate after construction that they will be spending about $100,000 on equipment. So this is just a top up on top of that for a specific equipment that was specifically requested by students, as opposed to what the department believes should go in there. I'm not the expert who can answer whether that is in the spirit of bed fund, but just thought I'd provide that context.
Direct response, President Christina Yorlehihu Bissell, or Pepto Yorlehihu Bissell. Yes, that sounds very much in spirit of the bed fund, as that is beyond the scope that the faculty can provide. So thank you.
Okay, Director Hadley, if you have something to add, please.
Alexa Hadley, Director of Academics. I just want to also elaborate that Grace, Nick, and I also did meet, and we went through the proposal to make sure that, you know, the faculty is essentially paying for as much as they are willing, and like, yeah, essentially are willing. They're putting that mandatory equipment in there and making sure that they are paying for that. And so we did remove quite a few items, I'd say, from your original proposal, and made sure that, you know, these things are things that the faculty just isn't going to buy for the students because it isn't necessary. It's more just an enhancement.
Thank you. Going back to, I'm going to go to, okay, I'm not sure who Allison is. Is that
Director of HR?
Yeah, Director Wong, go ahead.
Hi, Allison Wong, Director of Human Resources. I just had a quick question about the Apple bed fund purchases. Are those iPads going to like professors to use to deliver their coursework, or what are those going to be used for?
Direct response, Grace Ma, Bed Fund Head Manager. So in their report, Apple clarified that those iPads are for use in the Jeffrey Apple Orchard for student borrow. The specific example they provided was for use in tutorials or Apple workshops for the students. So the students themselves would be checking them out, and the Apple Discipline Club would be handling the borrowing and checking out of those iPads.
Okay, thank you.
Representative McCloskey.
Kalena McCloskey, first year faculty board bed fund rep. Sorry about that. That was inconvenient timing before. I was actually in the washroom, but anyways, in regards to the first year bed fund proposal, I had a couple meetings with the faculty for APSC 100 specifically, and they actually had requested a few specific items. So a lot of them, like the Arduino sensors, I think are pretty innovative and would definitely enhance the experience right now. And the reason I decided to include the kind of more obvious purchases like the hand saws, even though they're not super technical, they're just not available to students right now. And I don't know exactly what the faculty spends their budget on, but it seemed like that wasn't an option for them to purchase. So since they're not available to students right now and students would have to go and purchase them themselves, even adding those kind of commonplace pieces of equipment, I thought would still help to enhance the course.
I'm going to jump back to Vice President Edwards for the second round.
Kai Edwards, Vice President Student Affairs. Alexa, do you have something to add on to that before? Yeah.
Yeah, just a quick thing. I obviously, so I can't speak to mod 1 specifically, but I can speak to mod 3 as I am a project manager and helped design the course over the summer. There are certain pieces of equipment that are provided by the faculty, but basically the students are allocated a budget of $100 to create their project. And so things like those smaller things like saws, if they're not available, the students are expected to go out and purchase, like, you know, spend $20 out of that 100 to facilitate their prototypes. So definitely, like, if those things are already available, they can allocate that fund to something that is specific to each individual's project. And I think that kind of shows that, you know, the faculty is providing, they have the lab training, they have the workshop space available, but they don't have some simplistic things. And the way that they compromise by that is giving that $100 fees for each team. But if you're spending $20 on a saw, like, kind of makes the project a little bit difficult to fund.
Vice President Edwards, did you have something else to add?
I yield my time. Thank you.
Right. I'll leave it open for any additional questions, and a reminder, there will be time for debate and any procedural matters when we get to the motion itself. Seeing none, thank you again, Bed Fund Hand Manager Ma, for the presentation, and everyone for the questions and the answers. We will move on to the next presentation, the call for AGM.
Hello, everyone. Andrew Silva, Director of Governance. It's very short, as you can see. I'm just going to quickly go over what needs to be done before we can actually attend AGM. There we go. Yeah, so AGM is currently planned to be March 17th, 2022. But before that, we need to get a few things in order. So I'll just give you a quick rundown on AGM. AGM is when the new exec and directors are kind of sworn in, and they answer a few fun questions and some serious questions about Enstock, and then the council then votes to approve them being added into Enstock. Also, there's a lot of other motions, and it's important to note that bylaw and policy will both be approved after just one approval in council. So more specifically with bylaw, usually it's 2 councils before it can be put into bylaw, but this time it'll be 1. And also another big thing is that everyone in attendance will have a vote. So it's really important that we can get as many people out to council, AGM more specifically, and it'll just give us a better all-around view of how the engineering society perceives a lot of these motions. And before we can actually call council or AGM, we need at least 100 signatures. So as you 100 signatures from members of the engineering society. So I have created a form to collect these signatures, and I would really, really appreciate it if everyone here is able to send that out to their respective teams. The more, the better. The last thing we want is to get up to that March 17th day, and we do not have 100 signatures. So it's really important that we get that sent out to everyone. I can actually put that in the chat after I'm done this, but yeah, it's really important to get the signatures for that. And it is also very important to note that it is 50 people for quorum. So because everyone that attends has a vote, we will need at least 50 attendees for the AGM. So like I said before, make sure that we spread the word so that we can actually participate and have an AGM, which is really important for the society. And yeah, that's it for me. So I can take any questions or any concerns.
Thank you, Director De Silva. Again, if anyone has any questions, please add your name in the speakers queue. Seeing none, we can move on to, I believe, motion 3 is next in the agenda.
Sorry, Julia Takamoto, Sci 22 Pres. I can't get to the speakers queue right now. I don't know if you saw the raised hand or not, but I was just curious, is there any special advertising that's being done to promote AGM? How are we going to ensure that we do get 50 people to turn up?
Direct response, Andrew Silver, Director of Governance. That is a really good question. My plan is to get a post made on the Enstock social media and get that posted the day of and probably the day before to remind people that AGM is happening. And the plan would be to give a bit of an oversight on what AGM actually does. So just a quick rundown of what I told you, everyone here, basically. Also, I will be sending the link to the entire executive director team, as well as the entire council list to send to their teams and or forward the email. And hopefully that will be able to distribute it enough so we can get that quorum.
Kai Edwards, Vice President, Student Affairs, Direct Response. We'll also be working with the comms team to get something out on our social media and to encourage participation from the general student body as well.
Cool, thanks.
Oops. All right, seeing no other hands raised or names in the speakers queue, we will move on to motion 3. So this is the motion pertaining to the first presentation. Whereas the bed fund proposes purchases every year, and whereas Enstock policy requires that proposed purchases go through council approval before being sent off to the dean, be it resolved that council approve the proposals made by each discipline as seen in the bed fund proposal presentation, moved by Grace on crutches Ma, second by Alexa on skis Hadley. Are there any, first of all, do either of the movers have an opening?
Grace Ma, head bed fund manager. I do not have an opening.
Okay, opening the floor for debate. If you have any questions or concerns, or FYI, this is motion 3, not motion 1. But Vice President Edwards.
Kai Edwards, Vice President, I almost said Sci 22, Vice President of Student Affairs. Yes, thank you for whoever put my name in there. I did think we were on motion 1. Mainly what I want to talk about is the lab equipment. I agree with what the ECE purchases for. I think that that's in the spirit of what the bed fund is for. My concern is that some of the other lab purchases are not very clear as to what's being used for other than just lab. So I would like to put forward the idea that those ones are that besides the ones where we absolutely know where these things are going, but that they are rejected until the departments can give us some more details as to where this equipment is going, why it is required, and why it's going to enrich the experience of their students. Because I think at this point, we don't know whether some of this stuff is just going to replace new lab equipment, or if it's actually going to kind of be something extra that the faculty would not normally pay for.
All right, thank you, Vice President Edwards. Would we like to put that in the form of like an amendment to this motion, that we say we approving that rather than approving all of the purchases, we are approving all of them except for certain lab equipment purchases? Or
I believe, sorry, I'm just gonna pull it up. I'm working with 3 screens, so I'm just trying to find where I put it.
All right.
Okay, I believe it was, I mean, unless Grace or Alexa has some more information, specifically, I believe it was Chi, or so Kemeng Kem. Mining as well. And Christina, there was another one, was there not?
Christina Pepto Yodelihihu Bissell, President, Direct Response. I believe there was. I need to look through the report. Perhaps we table this motion to the end while we sort that out.
Are you moving to table motion 3, President Bissell?
Yes.
Can I have a seconder?
Seconded.
All right. Andrew will need to run, or Director De Silva will need to run a brief vote on that, but a motion then to table motion 3, and we'll until after motion 4, until after the reports. Which would you?
Until motion 4.
Okay. Director De Silva, are we able to?
Yeah, sorry, I just had to make the poll. We should be good to go now.
Thank you. Okay, I believe that passes.
Mhm.
So we will come back to that after discussing motion 4. So with that, we'll move on to motion 4. Whereas we are bringing back the director of events to make Enstock more eventful, and whereas bylaw needs to reflect this, be it resolved that council approve the changes to bylaw section 1B.2, 2.A.1, 8.A and 8.B, 10.C as seen in appendix legally resuscitated, and I believe this is in the second reading of that change, moved by Christina Resurrected Bissell, seconded by Kaya Revived Edwards. Do either of the movers have an opening?
President Christina Pepto Yodelihihu Bissell. President, yes, I have an opening. My opening is that we already approved the policy for this position, which is the director of events position from a few years back that we scrapped, and now we reinstated it. And so this is just the second motion or second bylaw approval to ensure the bylaw changes reflect the policy changes and can make sure that Aidan Foran, who is our incoming director of events, big shout out to him, actually has a job. So please approve this motion. And if anybody wants to ask me questions about the position a bit more, I am more than happy to answer them. Thank you. You're welcome, Aidan.
All right. Thank you for that, President Bissell. Any debate on the motion? Please put your name in the speaker's queue for motion 4. Seeing none, is there a closing?
Christina Pepto Yodelihihu Bissell, President. No closing. Thank you.
Thank you. We will move on to vote on this motion then. Be it resolved that council approve the changes to bylaw section 1.B.2, 2.A.1, 8.A and 8.B, 10.C as seen in appendix legally resuscitated, moved by Christina Resurrected Bissell, seconded by Kaya Revived Edwards. We'll put the question. And The motion passes. Okay, so we are bringing motion 3 back from the table then. And resuming debate on it. So if anyone has anything to add, please scroll up in the speakers queue and throw your name in. Okay, Vice President Edwards.
Kaya Niska Edwards, Vice President, Student Affairs. So we're not really, it's difficult to tell from this report, which, and like, this is not to the fault, this is just like the information that was provided to the Bed Fund team. I would like to motion to amend this motion that it is approval contingent on contact with the representatives from all of the discipline clubs that are requesting lab equipment. So council would approve it, and it would be upheld, provided that, for example, Chi and mining can provide some details as to where this lab equipment is going, what its use is, and why it is kind of within the scope of the Bed Fund. If that makes sense.
And just to sort of being clear, who's being responsible for actually receiving that information and ascertaining that it is within the spirit?
Well, sorry, Kai Edwards, Vice President of Student Affairs, Direct Response. I guess,
Point of information.
Yep.
Christina Pepto Yodelehi Bissell, President. It will be determined by the Bed Fund head, the Director of Academics, and the President, who all have been overseeing this project extensively and are very familiar with the spirit of the Bed Fund. And so we'll ensure that these purchases are in spirit and align with the Bed Fund's original intent.
So if council, sorry, Kai Edwards, Vice President of Student Affairs, continued. So if council approves these purchases, the purchases are approved with the exception. So like ECE, I wanted to say math. I'm in Apple. Apple, so the ones that have already previously provided details as to what exactly the equipment is for, they will all be good to go. It will just be verifying that the lab equipment is what we think it's for, is what it's been told it's for. And that is something that can be provided as a report to council as a summary, just to share the outcome and to verify what the decision was.
All right. Sounds good. For either the movers of motion 3, do you consider this amendment to be friendly?
Director of Academics Alex Hadley. Yes, I just would like some actual specifics on Kaya, what you want as verification besides just like validation. Like, what are the things that you want us to find out and like provide that to you?
Yes.
Because like right now, I think obviously I agree that is vague. I think us hearing from the faculty and hearing from our reps that, you know, this is equipment that is not going to ever essentially be supplemented by the faculty was kind of that verification internally. So just kind of what do you want for this approval process?
I see Christina's face moving. I think she has some, I'll let Christina take it because I think we're thinking the same thing.
Christina Pepto Yodelehi Bissell, President, Direct Response. We would like to verify that these purchases are not for specific courses, but for students in their respective study spaces, and that they are indeed purchases that the faculty are not only saying that they cannot purchase, but also align with the fact that it is from students making these requests. I understand that a lot of work has gone into ensuring that already, and It's just the term lab. I think that just needs to be a bit clarified a bit more, specifically for chemical and mining, where that term was used loosely. I know it was also used for the ECE report or proposal. However, it was clarified that that was for the Bain lab, which is a study space. And so ensuring that these are purchases that are for students and not just additional equipment that would be more beneficial or replacement that the faculty should be purchasing. For instance, like I believe it was Geo, we said that we were getting new cabinet boards, and that was to replace a previous bed fund purchase. So we know that that is aligned with the scope, but when I first heard cabinets, I thought that is structural and something that the faculty should be purchasing. So just getting that one little step of clarification would really assist in determining that these purchases align with the bed fund scope.
Direct response, Alex Hiley, Director of Academics. Okay, that clarifies things and we will have that for you.
Thank you.
Okay, so I'm interpreting that as yes, it is friendly. Just so council is clear on what they're voting on, suggesting wording. Yep.
Director Governance Manager Silla. I propose to amend the council to specify that the budget will be approved upon the verification of the discipline's use of the lab equipment. So if I can change that now, or if I can change that and then we can motion to approve the change to council, then we can vote on that motion.
Yep. Although as far as order, if the mover considers it to be friendly, then I believe council does not need to vote on the amendment being made to the motion. They just need to vote on the motion as it is amended.
Okay, thank you.
But yes, it would be greatly appreciated if we could have specific wording, just so it is clear what we are voting on and approving.
Direct response, kind words, Vice President Student Affairs. Yeah, sorry, upon verification of the discipline's use of the lab equipment, including for which spaces or courses.
Sorry, could you repeat that?
Upon verification of the disciplines apostrophe, perhaps. There we go. Use of the lab equipment, including where the equipment is to be installed.
Mcgurk, Deputy Speaker, might I suggest as well verification by the bed head board, as I believe that's who President Bissell suggested is responsible for carrying out this motion. Should we approve it?
Yes, thank you, Nick. And I believe Noah has a spelling correction for us. Thank you, Noah.
Apostrophe after the S in discipline.
Yeah. Discipline uses.
Just for sure, Director Hadley, this still friendly, this still good to go?
Yes.
Fantastic. So any other debate on motion 3 as amended now? Seeing none, we can now vote. Be resolved that council approve the proposals made by each discipline as seen in the bed fund proposal presentation upon verification by the bed fund head of the discipline's use of lab equipment, including where the equipment is to be installed. Moved by Grace on Crutches Ma, seconded by Alexa on Skis Hadley. You may now vote. Motion passes. Okay, then we move on to executive reports, starting with President Bissell.
Christina Pepto Yodelehihu Bissell, President. So as you can tell, this report has been slightly short. I thought I missed the deadline, so I kind of scrambled to write it really quickly. But I am wrapping things up slowly as I transition Danny, Evan, and Jane, who have all been doing an amazing job in their new roles, and congratulations to the incoming executive director team. And also Bed Fund has also been wrapping up as well. So it's just being a resource and helping Alexa and Grace where I can to help with any sort of logistical issues there. Another thing that has been wrapping up is the science formal. Unfortunately, we had to cancel this year. That's been taking up a lot of my time as well over the past 3 weeks, I believe, since it's been canceled, just because we were trying to find any alternatives we could work with under the strict timeline and restrictions due to COVID-19 planning under the current circumstances. Unfortunately, we were not able to find a feasible solution that was in spirit with the event, and so we had to table it until next year. Of course, we always tried again. Orientation week, also got some major updates about that. We are having the weekend of Labor Day and the weekend after week 1 to be designated as orientation days. This includes residence orientation. So we're looking at about 3 days of orientation activities span across those 3 days. Also, they have hired a water team, and Otis has already been hired. So they are just trucking along amazingly with the first round of event forms due this week. Some really amazing plans in the works, and I'm looking forward to seeing what Alex and Danny do with this upcoming year. Other than that, for the next few weeks, I will continue to be transitioning Danny and making sure she's settled in with hiring their new team and getting her team hired, as well as going to AMS Assembly, QUESI Advisory Board, meeting with the dean, and of course, making sure that these bed fund purchases are in spirit with bed fund policy. Thank you.
Thank you, President Bissell. On to the Vice President of Operations.
Hi, Council. Yeah, so I did not submit a report. I missed that deadline. I actually didn't think we had a council this council, so that's on me. Yeah. I've been spending a lot of time transitioning Evan, teaching him a lot of new things and how to do my job. Also been getting some of his directors up to speed with sort of what's going on with the services. And then I've been helping the services get started with spinning up payroll, completing all their payments, safety plans, and other logistics like ordering things they need. Then I've been doing a lot of money things. I am now finally, as of tonight, caught up on all of our outstanding e-transfers that have been approved. There are other e-transfers that have not yet been approved, but those will hopefully be going out soon. And other than that, I had a very nice reading week, which I really needed. So, yeah.
Thank you, Vice President Frost. On to the Vice President of Student Affairs.
Hey y'all, Kai Edwards, Vice President of Student Affairs. Sounds like there's a theme. I also had a relaxing reading break, which was great, maybe too relaxing because I was a little bit behind getting back to school. So over the past 2 weeks, besides, I guess, relaxing, lots of director statics. I'm very excited because this week we now have our VPSA lowers coming to the statics. So that is very exciting and very much looking forward to working with them and helping with transition. We had an AMS assembly. We had a meeting with the dean, faculty board, as well as your executive roundtable. I do have a short update regarding the gender-free washroom signage. I'm not sure if that's something Jeevan planned on covering. Jeevan? I did. Okay, cool. I will leave that for you then. I'll leave that for you. So I also helped thanks. Formal hire a new team for next year. The major thing that I was doing was discussing fall term sessional dates. I don't believe I mentioned this to council yet because it only happened just before the break. It has come to our attention that the when we had that survey go out about fall term sessional dates, the Indigenous Day of Truth and Reconciliation was considered a full day off. Now that the sessional dates are out, it seems that's no longer the case, and it's only being considered a half day. So I've been discussing with the dean as well as with the representation and the other faculty societies in the AMS to try to figure out what's happening with that and make sure that the half day, that there's going to be meaningful action and meaningful learning opportunities for students. The last thing, which is on my agenda and hopefully on yours too, is nominating people for Enstock Awards. So Enstock Award nominations are open right now. It's a very exciting thing, a really great way to recognize your friends, people you know who've done a really good job, who've done a lot of hard work this year. It's especially hard work to be out and doing all this partially online. So major kudos to all of council, and thank you guys for continuing to come out online. I know we don't have pizza to offer you, which is sad, but hopefully we'll get back to there sometime. Over the next 2 weeks, going to be doing some more roundtables, lots of transition stuff with Jane and the new exec team, as well as the incoming directors. We have the AMS annual general meeting, the EngSoc annual general meeting, and awards committee. So if you are a discipline club and you have not sent Andrew your awards committee representative, please do so ASAP, because we need those people to help us decide who should get the awards. That's pretty much it for me, and I hope you guys all enjoy my Pokemon meme. Yes, I have been playing it since I was 7.
All right. Thank you, Vice President Edwards. I think you might be among company on that last point. Moving on to director reports with the Director of Academics.
Yeah, Alexa Hadley, Director of Academics. Basically, things have been pretty consistent. Both my services just reopened, so Icons is operating in the ILC, and EngLinks is actually running their first in-person first-year workshop of the semester this coming weekend. But basically, just making sure things with the services are going smoothly. We ran a winter caucus with my academic advocacy team, and then been doing a lot of stuff with Bed Fund, as I'm sure you guys know now. Aside from that, I'm also incoming Director of Services, so just a little plug, service head management applications closed tonight. So if you're thinking of applying, got a couple hours left. And then, yeah, really just transitioning my lower and also being transitioned.
Thank you, Director Hadley. Moving on to the Director of Communications.
Hi, everyone. Ella Mcgurk, Director of Communications. So things I did the past 2 weeks, everybody's going to say reading week, but besides reading week, I sent my lower my transition manual, and Sarah and I met on Wednesday, which was yesterday. I'm a little bit lost for time, but she's great. I'm really excited to transition her and welcome her to the ED team for next year. Finished up my Black History Month graphics. I hope everybody enjoyed them. Also did a lot of graphics for director interviews and some other initiatives. I finished drafting some Indigenous patches for Jeevan and Aiden. So hopefully those are good, but let me know. As well, reopening is great. So I actually have some requests next week for headshots that we get to do. What else? A photo contest. Yes, so I have a photo contest. It closes tomorrow. Feel free to submit. The winners are announced on Sunday, and the top 3 photos are going to get a prize. So the next 2 weeks, International Women's Day is coming up. So we've been doing some recruiting for women to celebrate on the Instagram, and we also offered a submission form if people want to nominate themselves. I thought I could help out with hiring interviews. I realized I can't, but that's okay. Continuing to transition my lower, and then finishing up any final campaigns that I wanted to do this year with my managers, and of course, miscellaneous activities. So yeah.
Thank you, Director Mcgurk. Moving on to the Director of Clubs and Conferences.
Point of information, I think Adam texted me about 15 minutes ago letting me know that he's not on his laptop and his phone might die, so I'm assuming that's what happened. But Kaya, if you're okay, I offered to give a brief update as I had met with him earlier this week. Okay.
for it. Yeah,
so,
go for it. Thank you.
yeah, basically he's just been keeping up with his regular meetings for all the clubs and conferences. Also finished transition manual, starting to transition his lower. Also has been trying to work on some more postings for the conference co-chairs, because that's kind of something that's still happening. And then also assisting with any AMS event applications, because hopefully going to have some more things in person towards the end of the semester, fingers crossed. And then, yeah, basically just making sure that the EDI conference goes well and hiring any new co-chairs.
All right, thank you, Director Hadley again. Moving on to the Director of Design.
Hi everyone, Jen Kovanich, Director of Design. So in the past 2 weeks, I've mostly just been helping teams get settled back into their spaces and answering some miscellaneous questions, as well as advertising the Director of Design position. Unlike everyone else, hopefully I get my lower by next week if someone applied. Also been working on the design team showcase, which is happening in 2 weeks, Wednesday the 16th. So definitely come out if you can make it. And working on the operations manual and my transition manual. So for the next 2 weeks, hopefully I'll be transitioning my lower. That'll be great. And planning the design team appreciation for design teams and attending the design team showcase and sending out the space allocation information as well as my regular statics. Thanks.
Thank you, Director Kovanich. Moving on to the Director of Internal Processes.
Can everyone see my screen? Awesome. So Evan Ray, Director of Internal Processes. Yeah, so sorry about the report. Sent it to Andrew, had some problems with OneDrive. It's all good now. Yeah, so over the past 2 weeks, just been doing preparing my transition manual, some automation work with Jeevan and Aiden, awards banquet planning. Hopefully that can happen in person, yet to be seen if we can find a place on campus with enough capacity. Just doing some Clark access and alarm codes for service managers as they get back into their spaces and regular meetings. And then over the next 2 weeks, just working on transitioning my lower. So congratulations as well there. And then obviously being transitioned myself with Ben. And then finalizing some stuff for that, some more bursary automation work and award banquet work. And that's about it.
Thank you, Director Ray. Moving on to the Director of External Relations.
Hi everyone, Aiden Shimizu, Director of External Relations. Over the last couple of weeks, I've just been finishing up my transition manual, sending it to Kalena, and starting to transition her. I sent delegates to the Conference on Sustainability and Engineering and the Conference on Advocacy and Leadership in Engineering. I created and distributed an ESCO survey with ex-ComCom. And if you haven't filled that out, please do fill it out. It's doing pretty well so far. So far, we've got about 12.5% of the student population filled it out. So like 429, which is pretty good. I'm working on a Fix and Clean event. We just got approved and just got sanctioned by the AMS. So that's going to be a go at the start of April, I believe. I met with my outreach team last night and we just set up a timeline for the rest of the semester. We're planning to do a wellness week with other faculties, where other faculties can kind of take a day and run an event, and we'll run an event ourselves as well, and other things like making cards for kids in the hospital, and I'm sure there's other things as well, but I forget. And cleaning up my OneDrive because it's a mess and I feel bad leaving it like that for Kalena. So the next 2 weeks, I will be transitioning her, helping transition that other Aiden guy with my events for Terry Fox in November. We're going to be analyzing the results from the ESCO survey with my ex-ComCom team. We're going to be preparing our ex-ComCom AGM presentation, making a decision on or a recommendation on whether we should stay with ESCO or not. And we're going to be making that a motion at AGM after our presentation. So make sure to vote on that. We're refining the policy and bylaw for my position because it's kind of sucks and like it could be improved a lot and it's not very specific. and asking Ben for money because I keep forgetting to do that, and my sub teams need money. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Shimizu. And thank you again for the Director Ray meme. And moving on to the Director of Finance.
Hey everyone, how y'all doing? So I have my one little thing written up on here, but basically it was just kind of discussing stuff I've been doing is prep work for month ends. So we have quite a few of those to get through. So just doing the groundwork for that. We're working on them this weekend. And then reading break, some FO-led projects. So that's stuff mostly related to getting BOE even better than what it is, like, or what it back to where it should be. So there's like some budget stuff that we need to do. We've also been getting some really good feedback around the status of where transactions are. And so there's some like flow and BI stuff behind that. And then stuff that I will be doing is just transfer catch up. It sounds like Ben's been working on that in the past a little bit, which is really good to hear. We've also been possibly looking at some policy changes related to the finance within EngSoc and some of the permissions around that. And then, yeah, mostly just working through month ends because we want to get them done before handing it over and working on transition too. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Director Butler. On to the Director of First Year.
Kai Edwards, Vice President of Student Affairs. Alan has a midterm that he is writing right now. So best of luck. I hope he's doing all right. What he's been doing the past 2 weeks, obviously enjoying the reading break, which is really great, as well as polishing off transition materials and getting his team to provide that because the DOFI team will be hiring within the next few weeks. So really getting things set up for them and getting a few last events set up for the year to close it off.
Thank you, Vice President Edwards, for filling in there. Moving on to the Director of Human Resources.
Hello, Alison Long, Director of Human Resources. So as always, I've linked those hiring resources in my report, which can be accessed in the agenda sent out by Andrew to all of you. So if you or someone you know is hiring, please check those out first and then come to me with any questions afterwards. Other things that I have been doing is hiring is definitely picking up now that the director team has been hired. So lots of approvals, lots of emails. I have given my lower the transition manual. We've had our first static this week, and so she has been shown the ropes. So that is super exciting, and there's a lot of potential in this portfolio for a lot of different directions she can take it. So I'm looking forward to seeing what she ends up doing with this. So things I'll be doing over the next 2 weeks is just continuing to transition my lower with our statics and tagging emails, and eventually the idea is she will take over some of that hiring correspondence and providing approvals on Breezy and continuing making those approvals, checking pre-hiring forms and things like that. And then the plan is eventually at some point. Oh, I also forgot, I updated policy, which should be a motion coming to AGM that just fixed all the discrepancies in hiring policy because it still said Enstock dash and there were like inconsistencies in some of the practices that we were doing. So that we went through that and fixed that up, and that'll be coming next council. And then I will at some point be looking to speak with the faculty to do training subscription software. So have a squirrel. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Wong. Moving on to the Director of Governance.
Andrew Silva, Director of Governance. Hello, everyone. Things that I have been doing the past 2 weeks. A big portion of my time is spent creating a template for the discipline and year exec clubs to follow for their elections. The plan is for the nomination period to be occurring as early as this week, and well, actually, it depends on if you're disciplined, but these upcoming weeks, there will definitely be a lot of positions up for year or discipline club exec. Also, I am in the works on organizing and getting the word out for AGM. And I'm also meeting with my lower Ben, showing him how to get the council agenda set up and all the little minute details about that. And I'm also attempting to get award committee members. So I've pressured a few of you, a handful of you to send me your award committee members, and I will continue to pressure the other ones that have not sent it. So expect an email from me and Kaya. The next 2 weeks, I will continue to transition Ben, and then I will be moderating the discipline in your exec elections and be a resource for any questions. And as well as I will be the chair for the awards committee. And yes, the award nominations are due the 18th. So yeah, nominate everyone and anyone.
Thank you, Director De Silva. Moving on to the Director of Information Technology.
Zach Donovan, Director of Information Technology. Over the last 2 weeks, I broke some stuff and then consequently fixed some stuff. Thank you, Nick, for pointing that out. We reconfigured Cloudflare Argo to improve some bandwidth efficiency. So we're kind of cutting down on server costs. We actually updated our IDS and IPS definitions. So that just means kind of more security, I guess. We now are IPv6 ready. So embrace the new wave. And yeah, that's kind of it.
Thank you, Director. Thank you, Director Donovan. Moving on to the Director of Social Issues.
Hello, Jeevan Alvarado, Director of Social Issues. I hope everyone's doing well and in-person transitions going smoothly. Over the last 2 weeks, I've worked on EDI conference planning, so we've just been finalizing some things. We're still planning on running an online component next week. I believe St. Patty's Day is running on the 19th, so we're pushing, I think we might end up pushing our in-person events 1 week back. So expect that to be updated in the next 2 weeks or so. But yeah, we're just finalizing up the last few panels, and then we're going to be starting an aggressive marketing campaign next week. In terms of Bursary Automation, we started over the reading week with myself and Evan. That's coming on well. Bursaries are now just a lot more automated, a lot more efficient and optimized. Policy, I rewrote the entirety of Bursary policy over the reading week as well. So it's a lot more readable now and understandable. So that's good. I got some comments from Chris, so I'll be updating that. And then you should expect a update and a motion to put policy in the next council. EDI research document for the faculty is coming on well. We're meeting in the next few weeks. Indigenous Pastures Initiative, Ella sent the patches to us yesterday. They look fantastic. I'm looking forward to seeing where that initiative goes. EDI website development, my lower knows how to website, which is awesome. So I've just passed the initiative on to Sabrina because I don't know how to website. So I'm hoping that that'll get done sometime at the end of the semester. The accessibility system reform proposal, that's also under the works at the moment. Stage 1 involving the introduction of a marketing accessibility tool and the production of an accessibility accommodations form that's universal for Enstock is coming along quite well. And then stage 2 will be starting in the next 2 weeks, which is working on policy reforms and also creating a policy guideline manual. The last thing that I'll mention is the gender washrooms initiative. So we met with the faculty before the reading week on Thursday. We went and did a walk around across the ILC. So the plan is currently, in terms of short-term plan, to install signage, both major signage near the washrooms and then replacing the panels, which already direct people to the current washrooms in the ILC, down to the first floor, which goes through the door into Dupuis, where there is a gender-neutral washroom, or it'll be classified as a gender-neutral washroom in the basement of Dupuis, which will be used for the short-term planning in terms of gender-neutral washroom within the ILC. Long-term planning includes the potential of introducing a gender-neutral washroom in the ILC, and I'm hoping that that will be continue on next year. But the goal now is to get the faculty to install that signage and get that done ideally by the end of the semester. So that's everything that I've been working on over the past 2 weeks. Over the next 2 weeks, more or less just continuing all those initiatives, and then also transitioning my lower. But that's everything for me. Have a good day. Enjoy this meeting with Ben.
Thank you, Director Salvaraja. Moving on to the Director of Professional Development.
Hi, everyone. Marissa Matthews, Director of Professional Development. First council I get to go to this semester, hooray. Finally not at the same time as my class. So things I've been doing over the last 2 weeks. My team's been working on this EDII in the workplace module. I've mentioned a bunch. We're finally getting close to being fully done. We also launched a student survey asking for feedback on our events this year. So please fill that out if you have any input on events that you like this year or ones you want to see in the future on the professional development team. We ran the sustainability and diversity job fair just before the reading break, and we had 180 students sign up to attend, and over half of them actually came out, which is really exciting. And this was our first ever Enstock run job fair, so I'm really happy that went well. We had an Enstock interview workshop last night, but didn't have a lot of registration, so we ended up just using a recording of the workshop we ran last semester with the same content. And I have made my transition manual and given it to my lower, so welcome to Kate. Over the next 2 weeks, we're going to be running a Queens Around the Globe alumni panel, which will talk about how to study or work internationally, so definitely consider coming out to that. We also will be having a green industries workshop with the alumni coming out to talk about different environmental job opportunities. And then we are going to be sending our EDII in the workplace module to some different groups around campus to get feedback on it before we'll finally be able to send it out to students to use the module. And I'll also be transitioning my lower.
Thank you, Director Matthews. Moving on to the Director of Services.
Benjamin Frost, Vice President of Operations. Delina is writing a take-home midterm right now. Delina has been pretty busy over the last couple weeks and reading week. She has been transitioning her own lower and helping Evan a little bit get acquainted with the services. She's also been working with me and Jay Young on Clark Hall Pub reopening, Tea Room reopening, CO reopening, and a little bit of Golden Words reopening. Also helping Science Quest as they are hiring their new staff. They're almost done hiring staff. And she's doing some preliminary structuring of Indigenous and sustainability initiatives for next year with the Tea Room. And as always, Delina has been putting out small fires because that is a lot of what the Director of Services does. That is all.
Thank you, Vice President Frost, for providing that update. Any questions on the ED reports? Seeing none, we will move on to the faculty board report.
Christina Pepto-Yorlehihu Bissell, President, Faculty Board attendee. We have not had faculty board since like last council, so we'll have an update for AGM. Thank you.
Thank you, President Bissell. Moving on to the Alma Mater Society report.
Christina Pepto-Yorlehihu Bissell, President. Alma Mater Society has not assembled since last council. It will assemble, I believe, next week or before AGM. So
thank you again, President Bissell. Moving on then to the Senate report.
Christina Pepto-Yorlehihu Bissell, President. Senate, I believe, is like meeting tonight or yesterday. I did not go, but I will get the updates when I go to President's Caucus next week. So I will also have that for next council if our senators are not present.
Thank you, President Bissell. And yes, I did not see either senator on our attendance list right now. Moving on then to the Engineering Review Board report.
Christina Pepto-Yorlehihu Bissell, President. No report has been submitted to me. Thank you.
Thank you, President Bissell. Moving on to the Advisory Board report.
Michael Butler, Deputy Chair of the Advisory Board. I figured I'd take this one from you, Christina. So last meeting, there was a discussion around engagement. And further than that, elections have been postponed to AGM. So that thing that came up on the last council, it was good to have, but not needed anymore, which is always nice. The board is also hiring a secretary, which is a paid position. So you can see that on the engineering hiring platform. And yeah, that's about all the updates that board has for now. Thank you.
Thank you, Advisory Board Deputy Chair Butler, in part for giving President Bissell a break. We'll move on to the club reports then, starting over in the Sunny group, starting with Apple, after which we will say nerds.
Apple.
Apple.
Apple Math.
Nerds.
Aiden Shimizu, third year rep for Apple Math. We have been doing merge orders. The exec have been making their transition manuals for the next Apple exec. And Joanna is retiring. So our lovely Joanna is retiring. So they want to do something for her, like a thank you video or something like that. Yeah, that's all. Thanks.
Thank you, Representative Shimizu. Moving on to Chem, after which we will say fumes. Is there anyone from chemical engineering or engineering chemistry here who's able to give an update?
I don't see our chem representative here. Marissa.
Marissa Matthews, a Chem student and housemate of Chem president. Does that count? I believe all they're doing right now is working on planning our banquet, but they have not picked a date, and I think they are about to submit the AMS sanctioning form for it. That is the update.
Thank you, housemate Matthews. Moving on to geological, after which we will say dirt.
Geo.
Dirt.
Marie-Hélène Lapointe, geological engineering representative. Nothing much has changed. We have gotten our merch orders out. We're still waiting on a couple people to come pick their stuff up. Successful order, very nice stuff. We are also in the process of planning a pubs with profs for our end of year event. So that's in the works as well, and getting our elections underway. That's about it.
Thank you, Representative Lapointe. Next we have civil, after which we will say beams.
Events coordinator, Madeline Gall. We've been
Beams.
Beams.
Thank you. Hope everyone's doing well. We've been working on merch orders. We've been having some troubles getting approvals on stuff, but I think we've made a lot of progress this week, and we're hoping to get starting to get orders coming in at the end of the week. And what else have we been doing? We've successfully launched our mentorship program, lining up upper years with younger years. And we have just started to start organizing stuff for the civil banquet. We've gotten the awards lists out to students, so we're hoping to get some good responses for that. We have not yet set an official date, and we're also in contact with the faculty to see if there's a possibility for an in-person banquet as opposed to virtual.
Thank you, Representative Gall. We will move then to the year reports, starting with Sci Chugga 22.
Sci 22.
Old.
Thank you. Julie Takamoto, Sci 22 Prez. I made it home safely. I did not die on the road. Big achievement. As far as year exec goes, we have a yearbook. Nick Klaus did an amazing job putting it together, and we are just working on getting the last few items. So we're trying to get a letter from the dean, as well as the president of Enstock. Christina, I sent you an email. And then we will send it off to be printed. We are also working on planning our final event ever. We're trying to rent out Clark Hall Pub. We are hoping that the head manager of Clark Hall Pub will respond to our emails. That will hopefully happen in week 10. And then we are also just waiting to hear back for some of our thank you gift suggestions. We still would like to know what everybody would like. If there's different services who have not responded yet, if they would like anything from side 2.2, and waiting to find out our budget for that as well. That is all I can remember at this moment. If there's anyone else from side 2 year exec who can think of anything to mention, please speak now. Otherwise, follow us at Queen's End Shoe 2 on Insta for all of our other updates and fun stuff.
Thank you, President Takamoto. Moving on to Sai. Nobody likes you when you're 23.
Side
Side
2, 3.
Gosh.
Noah Wyman, Side 2-3 president. Our, I guess, biggest update at the moment is that we have a new Instagram page finally. So we're going to start doing some stuff with that soon, and announcing things on that. We're going to have a couple social media campaigns coming up in the next little while. Please follow us at QueensEng23. I will put that in the chat after I talk. But yes, please follow us, and you'll have my gratitude. Other than that, we are working on merch, so hopefully we will have order forms out in, fingers crossed, before the next council meeting, but we'll see. I think those are the only major updates I have for council today, so thank you.
Thank you, President Wyman. Moving on to Sai 2 Forever Frosh. Is there anyone inside 2.4 here?
I don't see anyone here. Sadness.
No one to call Frosh. All right. Yeah, seeing no one from side 2.4 year exec or even from side 2.4 at all, I suppose we will move on to side 2.5.
Oh, sorry, I see a thing from Aiden is in side 2.4. Do you know what's happening with the year exec?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
I'm on service. I'm sorry.
Totally fair.
No problem. Moving on to side 2.5 then.
Side 2.5.
Frosh.
Sabrina Button, side 2.5 president. The last few weeks have been pretty slow. I got COVID, and then I've been transitioning to director of social issues. So yeah, it's a bit on the slow side, but we've been mostly figuring out putting merch on the EngSoc site and getting order forms for that, stuff like that, just because we want to get it out as soon as possible since it's been in the works for a while. We've been doing like some tiny prep for the year exec election that's happening soon. Our website went down, so we fixed it. And then I think my event coordinators are working on some small events that might happen before exam season, so in the next few weeks.
Thank you, President Button. Any final statements or questions by members or any other business before we close council? Seeing none, I believe I'm supposed to ask for a motion to close.
Motion to close council.
Do I have a seconder?
Seconded.
Okay. You may now vote. Motion passes. Don't know what we do otherwise, but thank you everyone for bearing with me, and have a great rest of midterm season. See you all at AGM.
Thanks, Nick.
Bye, guys.